Well, welcome back to Lucore Automotive. This is part 3, the final episode of our C6 Z06 Clutch nightmare. If you haven't watched parts 1 and 2, we highly suggest you stop right now and go back and watch those if you're interested in watching something along these lines. If you have watched parts 1 and 2, thank you very much, and welcome to part 3. In part 3, we are going to tackle the final situation of our nightmare. Clearly there's been a lot of time spent on this so far, and there's a lot more time that's spent in this video. The very first 19 minutes of this video is almost entirely time-lapse working video, okay? Normally we wouldn't include something like this, and honestly, this entire video series on this project isn't something we normally would include. We just wanted to include it on this channel for anybody who's going to be going through this process to see the full scope of headaches that you can be getting yourself involved in on doing this process. We also want to be able to show the level of frustration, which hopefully you've seen in doing something like this over and over again. There's a reason you find project cars online that are just sold. It's because a lot of times people run into something that just takes the soul out of them and they can't finish the project. You get everything together and you find something is wrong, whether or not you did it wrong or something your part was provided incorrectly. Something is wrong and it has to come back apart and you have to do everything you just did all over again. In this case, as you'll see in this video, sometimes you get to do it multiple times over again, and it's not necessarily your fault. Sometimes it truly is a bad part. And unfortunately, when the bad part is in somewhere tricky, you can end up in a bad situation. So if you don't want to watch the time lapse, totally understand that. It's probably not very exciting unless you like watching Rich work at 8x speed. If not, skip ahead to 20 minutes or so into the video, 21 minutes into the video, and you'll see the actual process about what we got done and what happens. So there you go. Thanks for watching. If you don't want to watch this, we understand. While you're here, give it a like. If you're interested in seeing an honest shop in the United States showing some honest behind-the-scenes footage of what we do, please give us a subscribe, and we'd like to see you on another video. So without further ado, time to watch Rich work for 19 minutes.
What a pain in the butt. The bleeder adapter is leaking, so I get to do this and put it all back together. Pedal up, pedal down.
Yep. Oh, we've got nothing.
Yeah, keep going. You're not going to have anything. I'm just having you cycle air out of it.
You gotta pull it up.
I know you got to pull it up.
You gotta pull it up.
There's all sorts of bad directions we could go with that.
Up, down, up, down.
All right, hang on.
It's down on the floor.
Pull it up. Down.
Down.
Let's let that set for a minute.
Ugh.
Let all my air bubbles work out. That's a great way to bleed your clutch.
Just work doing once.
Dump that tube back into it. Pretty much.
Yeah, I just they've got the lead long enough, you can just put it right back into the reservoir. So you cycle the clutch a few times and let the air dissipate out. Go ahead and pump it a couple more times. Okay, leave it down.
I'm not getting nervous with
What'd you do, Richard?
it. I'm leaving if you have to do this a third time. I'm taking the rest of the week off.
If I have to do this a third time,
Third time's
it'll
charm.
be really quick.
Taking the rest of the week off.
Third time's a charm.
You're billing for it once.
Right. Third time's not a charm when you're only getting paid once. I will give you that. And that's the beauty of flat rate. Because if it's being paid flat rate and you screw it up, you're not charging them by the hour. Good. Pump the pedal a few times for me.
Oh, now we're starting to get a little bit.
Oh, now there's a pedal. Hey, look at that. Close the blade or you get a pedal. Weird.
Keep bumping or no?
Yeah, pump it. Oh, not quite that fast.
We got a squirter.
Give it a few pumps.
It's getting closer and closer to the floor.
Is it dripping out the bottom? Shouldn't be.
God, it better not be.
I don't see anything.
Hey, that little awkward hiccup at the top is gone. Feels a lot better.
Oh, you motherfucker, it's leaking.
You kidding me?
No, I'm not. It's leaking. That's really depressing.
You sure it's not stuff from when it popped the...
No, it's a steady. It's a steady leak. Sucks. All right, well, you can take it apart again.
You're kidding me.
Get another slave cylinder for it. It's leaking. Go ahead and push clutch down. That is so annoying. Yeah, push it down and hold it down.
It's down.
Trip. Trip. So annoying. Oh,
Oh, yeah, there you go. I can see it.
there it is. You can't focus. There's the focus. Oh, man, that's annoying. I get to do this a third time. For the love of cars. Well, that's a real kick in the nuggets. The good news is I haven't put the inside of this car back together, so I don't have to take it apart for a third time. Bad thing is I do have to take this back apart. We're going to pull it apart, put another slave cylinder in it, because this one's leaking. I thought it was the remote bleeder kit, but I tightened it up, and when I was looking at it with the mirror, I didn't see any evidence of it being the leak, so I think I don't know what I think right now. I'm frustrated. I'm gonna walk away from this car. I'm gonna go work on a SS for a little bit. And then I'm gonna take this car apart for the third time. And then we'll finally move on in life. Yeah. It is what it is. Well, I've got my torque tube out for the third time in as many days. Kind of frustrating, but it is what it is. I'm going to pull the Katech remote bleeder out, and I'm going to put some dye on the end of it to see if it's sealing up correctly, so that I can eliminate the Katech bleeder as a issue. I think this fitting is machined wrong, and that's causing our minor leak, but that's what we're going to do. I find it hard to believe that a GM slave cylinder is leaking the way this is. So, plus I can see wetness up in here, and I see a little wetness over here, but it's more than likely spraying over. So we're going to take it apart, put some dye on it, see if we can get a mark and see what is leaking. Fun stuff. I don't have any machinist dye, but I do have a permanent marker. I'm going to put some permanent marker on this flange. See if I get good contact. Well, it's not hitting on the 45. I think this guy's machined wrong. It's just barely contacting on the outer edge. So I'd say this is our problem. It really annoys me when people make a product and they know it's bad, and they end up shipping it out to customers anyway. We ran into this with a lot of diesel injectors, and it was not fun. Basically, BWD sold over the counter a whole bunch of injectors that they knew were bad, and it blew up a bunch of motors. And we had nine customers' trucks that we installed them in. Needless to say, we don't install any aftermarket diesel injectors anymore. But this guy's definitely not sealing up the way it needs to, so we'll get a new one of those. Get that coming. So I got my new Katech adapter fitting. It's interesting, the new one, you can see there's dye on it where they actually tested their part before they shipped it out. It's got quite a different profile, and I'm willing to bet that this one's a larger diameter. So we're going to check a couple things so that if you're out there installing one of these, you will know how to do it, so you only have to do it once. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some permanent marker on that, and I'm going to test fit it, because I am not doing this a fourth time. Just saying. So I'm marked out. I stick it in the hole, which it doesn't want to go into. There we go. Well, it doesn't look any different. That's weird. I wonder if it's because the brake fluid in the brake fluid inside the master cylinder is making the die come off and go back on. Try that again. I don't think I have any Q-tips here, or I would wick out the brake fluid in there. It still doesn't look like it's contacting correctly. Let me get my mics, check a couple things, pull the factory one out, check it to the new one to make sure I'm only going to do this once. Apparently I can't hold my tongue the right way to get this thing started. There we go. Now that one's got a nice contact patch right around, so I'm much happier with that one. This is our old one. Which ironically is easier to install. But the contact patch is not as clean, it's not as defined. Well, we're going to stick the new one in and see how it works. It looks like it should work better. Don't know. Won't know till I install it. But I'm going to put my torque tube in, bolt it in. I'm going to drop the car down. I'm going to test it before I put the transmission and everything else back in the car, because I don't want to go through all this again. So we'll install this guy. We'll lock him down, put him put the torque tube in, bolt it in so that it's together, and then we'll hook up our clutch slave. We'll bleed the clutch real quick, make sure we don't have any more problems, and then we can finally start moving forward.
Well, we'll call it quits there because you don't need to see this thing put back together for a third time. But the new piece did resolve our problem. So at the end of the day, all of this headache was caused because the remote bleeder fitting provided to us from Katech was machined improperly. What was a real good kick in the beans was the fact that Katech already kind of knew that they had this product out on the market that had been machined incorrectly, and didn't notify customers or pull the product off the shelf. Because oddly, as soon as we called, they knew exactly what we were talking about. And as you can see, we verified that that was indeed our issue. Put the torque tube back in, bled the system, everything's great. Put the whole car back together again, and there you go. So we ended up with somewhere in the 38-hour range, 36 hours of actual work on this car. Now, clearly, our customer is not on the hook because, or we're not going to make our customer be on the hook for the fact that we were provided a bad part. That's just not how we do things. There's probably nothing he could have done, and there's nothing we could have done. It's just a matter of we got the bad part, and we had to figure out, we had to get it in there to realize it was bad. And you know, it sucks. To be honest, it just really sucks. You can see the frustration on Rich's face. We try to put on a brave face with this one, but this one really was soul crushing. It took almost a week and a half to get this whole vehicle processed while it was torn apart all over a rack. And that's with professionals with 30 years of experience working on it and every tool you could possibly imagine. Imagine if this happened to you at home on your garage floor and you're trying to get your C6 Corvette back in one piece. So again, we're just trying to be honest. We're just trying to show you what really happens. This one was a struggle. So I know it probably wasn't very exciting to watch. We appreciate it if you made it this far. Anybody who has questions or comments or suggestions or whatever, please feel free to drop it in the comments below. If you have made it this far, please give us a like as well. Helps YouTube understand you guys actually pay attention to what we're doing here. And please consider giving us a subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. We're typically doing things that are a little bit more fun to watch than this, but we wanted to include this in something so that you guys could see, you know, the true frustrations, and it's not all the flashy fun stuff that we get to do, and the meets and the racing and the building cool cars. And it's not all fun and games. There's a lot of times where it really kicks you in the beans. So there you go. This saga has ended. This car will be at Mid-Ohio on June the 1st to flog itself around for hours with the Auto Interest crew. Unfortunately, we won't be able to make it there and to film because of the coronavirus situation. They're not allowing spectators on the track, only the drivers and their pit crew. So it is what it is. We'll get you some footage of this guy on the track, as well as an S2000. We just did some suspension work as well. We'll get you guys some footage from both of them. So anyways, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. We will see you with something more interesting and hopefully more entertaining next time.